Nestled among the majestic Rocky Mountains, the Stanley Hotel stood as a beacon of opulence and grandeur. Built in the early 1900s, the hotel was a magnet for the wealthy elite looking for a taste of luxury in the great outdoors. But over the years, something else began to draw people in. The hotel gained a reputation, one that wasn't listed in the glossy brochures or the elegant website. It was said to be haunted. Guests reported strange occurrences, phantom footsteps echoing in empty halls, mysterious laughter, lights flickering without cause. The staff had their stories too, though they often kept those tales confined to hushed whispers. Room 217 became infamous, with visitors requesting it far in advance, hoping to experience something out of the ordinary. The hotel's owners and managers weren't sure what to make of these claims. Some dismissed them as the imaginings of overactive minds, while others were not so quick to judge. But there was no denying that business was booming, and the Stanley Hotel had become a hotspot not just for adventure seekers and romantics, but for the curious and the brave. And then, one fateful day, a writer checked into the hotel. He was a man of some repute, known for spinning tales that chilled the bones and quickened the heart. His name was Stephen King, and he was about to transform the Stanley Hotel into something far more than just a luxury getaway. Stephen King had arrived at the Stanley Hotel in search of inspiration, a quiet place to write away from the distractions of everyday life. However, what he found was far more compelling. From the moment he set foot in the grand lobby, he felt an energy, a palpable sense of something lurking just beyond the visible world. After checking in, Stephen decided to explore the hotel. As he wandered through the grand halls, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone. The ornate, antique furniture seemed to carry whispers of the past, as if history had imprinted itself upon every surface. Drawn to room 217, he stood before the door with a sense of trepidation. Though it was locked, as the room was undergoing renovations, the aura it emitted was undeniable. In that moment, he realized that the Stanley Hotel was not just a setting, it was a character, alive and breathing, filled with stories yet to be told. That night, Stephen had a dream, a nightmare, to be more precise. It was vivid and terrifying, featuring malevolent spirits and a sense of impending doom. When he woke up, heart pounding, he knew what he had to do. The hotel had called out to him, inviting him to dig deeper, to unravel its mysteries, and to share its tale with the world. Feeling invigorated by his eerie experiences and haunting dream, Stephen King got to work. He quickly set up a makeshift writing space in his room, fueled by a sense of urgency that he couldn't ignore. But writing a story as complex and layered as this one required more than just inspiration. It demanded research, observation, and a deep dive into the unknown. He began by speaking to the staff. Many were hesitant to share their stories, but a few opened up, recounting tales of strange occurrences and unsettling encounters. He took careful notes, letting the texture of their narratives seep into his creative process. Stephen also scoured the local library and historical archives, piecing together the hotel's storied past. He learned about freelance Oscar Stanley, the hotel's visionary founder, and the many distinguished guests who had walked its halls, each adding a layer to the Stanley's complex tapestry. Stephen wasn't alone in his quest. His wife, Tabitha, provided emotional support and valuable feedback as his ideas evolved. She was his sounding board, offering keen insights that helped shape the emerging story. Together, they formed a team, each contributing their unique skills to a project that felt increasingly monumental. Days turned into weeks, and the pieces started to fall into place. Stephen could see the narrative arc taking form, characters materializing from the depths of his imagination, inspired by the very walls that surrounded him. He knew he was onto something big, something that could transform the public's perception of the Stanley Hotel forever. With a clear vision for his story and a growing pile of research, Stephen King plunged into the writing process. Each day brought new challenges, from crafting authentic dialogue to weaving in historical and supernatural elements without losing the narrative thread. The grand halls and rooms of the Stanley seemed to fuel his creativity, but they also cast a heavy shadow. Every so often, his writing would be interrupted by inexplicable occurrences: the sudden drop in temperature, a knock on the door with no one on the other side, or even the fleeting scent of roses wafting through the room, despite there being no flowers in sight. These moments, though unsettling, served as affirmations that he was on the right track. Stephen found himself wrestling with more than just words. He was grappling with the very essence of fear, exploring the psychological dimensions of horror. It wasn't just about ghosts and ghouls. It was about the terror that lurks in the corners of the human mind, as real and palpable as the wooden keys of the typewriter before him. He also faced practical trials. Deadlines loomed, and the pressure to deliver a manuscript to his publisher added a layer of tension. Yet, the Stanley Hotel itself seemed to push him forward, its spectral ambience serving as a constant reminder of what he was trying to capture. Slowly but surely, the pages filled up, each word a tribute to the enigmatic allure of the hotel that had so captured his imagination. As he neared the climax of his story, Stephen felt a combination of excitement and apprehension. He sensed that he was unlocking something powerful, tapping into a story that extended beyond the bounds of fiction. Just when Stephen thought he had the story well in hand, he hit a wall. A crucial piece of the narrative puzzle eluded him. The climax needed a twist, something to elevate the story from a mere ghost tale to a chilling psychological thriller. Frustration set in, exacerbated by the weight of expectations and the ticking clock. Stephen found himself wandering the halls of the Stanley late at night, almost as if he were guided by some invisible force. He revisited room 217, stood in front of its door, and pondered. It felt as if the room itself held the missing piece he was so desperately searching for. Then, on one particularly cold night, it happened. Alone in his room, struggling with the typewriter, he experienced a moment of sheer clarity. It was as if the spirits of the Stanley Hotel had whispered the secret directly into his ear. He raced to capture the idea, fingers flying across the keys, and as he typed out the climactic scenes, he knew he had nailed it. Yet, this moment of triumph was accompanied by an unsettling realization. By articulating the darkness that seemed to permeate Stanley, had he invited it into his own life? This thought sent shivers down his spine, but it also solidified his commitment to see the project through, regardless of the personal toll it might take. The crisis had been averted, the narrative gap filled, but at what cost? Stephen felt both drained and invigorated, aware that he had touched upon something that transcended fiction. The line between reality and imagination had blurred, and the Stanley Hotel stood at the crossroads, as mysterious and inscrutable as ever. Finally, the manuscript was complete. Stephen King looked at the stack of pages with a sense of accomplishment and relief. He had not only finished the book but also managed to capture the enigmatic essence of the Stanley Hotel, infusing his story with the very atmosphere that had first drawn him to this haunted locale. He sent the manuscript to his publisher, awaiting the verdict with bated breath. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Editors praised the story's complexity, its psychological depth, and the way it captured the imagination from the first page to the last. Stephen knew he had a hit on his hands, a tale that would not only entertain but also challenge and disturb its readers. Sharing the good news with Tabitha, he felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had been his rock throughout the journey, providing the emotional and intellectual support he needed to bring his vision to life. Together, they had unearthed the treasure hidden within the walls of the Stanley Hotel, a narrative gem that would soon captivate the world. But the treasure wasn't just the successful completion of the book. It was the experience itself, the journey into the unknown, guided by the spectral presence of a hotel steeped in mystery and lore. The Stanley had given him more than just a setting. It had offered a well of inspiration, a character in its own right that would forever occupy a space in his creative landscape. Stephen King left the Stanley Hotel with a sense of completion, but also a lingering curiosity. He knew that its halls and rooms would continue to evolve, to harbor new stories and mysteries, just waiting for the next willing storyteller to come along and unearth them. As the manuscript went into production, anticipation built up around Stephen King's newest work. When it finally hit the shelves, the impact was immediate and far-reaching. Readers were enthralled, critics were captivated, and the Stanley Hotel became an overnight sensation. Book tours and interviews filled Stephen's schedule, but in each one, he made sure to give credit to the enigmatic hotel that had served as his muse. The hotel itself experienced a renaissance. Tourism spiked as people from all over the world came to see the haunted halls that had inspired one of the greatest horror stories ever written. The staff, once reluctant to speak about the hotel's eerie occurrences, now embraced its haunted heritage, sharing tales and legends with an audience eager to listen. But the result went beyond financial or critical success. Stephen's book had captured something universal, a deep-seated fear and fascination with the unknown that resonated with readers from all walks of life. He had managed to turn a local legend into a global phenomenon, elevating the Stanley Hotel from a historical curiosity to a symbol of the mysterious and unexplained. While fame and fortune were rewarding, Stephen found a deeper satisfaction in the knowledge that he had told a story worth telling, one that would endure long after he was gone. The Stanley Hotel would continue to be a place of mystery and wonder, its legend immortalized in the pages of his book. Stephen King could have basked in the limelight, reveling in the success that his tale had garnered, but he felt a pull to go back to the Stanley Hotel one more time. He returned, not as a celebrity author, but as a humble pilgrim to the place that had given so much to him. The hotel welcomed him back like an old friend. Walking through its halls, Stephen felt a sense of nostalgia mixed with a newfound perspective. The rooms seemed to whisper, acknowledging the role they had played in his life and his art. Stephen visited room 217 one last time, sitting in the same chair where he'd been struck by inspiration. He felt a strange sense of closure, as if he'd come full circle. The ghosts, both real and fictional, had guided him on a journey of discovery, and now it was time to move on to new adventures and new stories. But before leaving, he penned a short note and left it in the room, a tribute to Stanley and its indelible impact on him. It read, "Thank you for the stories. May you continue to inspire." As he left the hotel and headed back into the world, Stephen King carried with him not just memories, but a piece of Stanley's enigmatic soul. The hotel had offered him a treasure trove of inspiration, and in return, he had given it a new lease on life, ensuring its legend would live on for generations to come. Time moved on, as it always does, and Stephen King continued to write, adding more titles to his already extensive bibliography. However, the story inspired by the Stanley Hotel held a special place in his heart and the hearts of his readers. It became a staple in modern horror literature, studied in schools, and adapted into various forms of media. The Stanley Hotel, too, experienced a new life. It transformed from a fading relic into a bustling hub of paranormal tourism and intrigue. The room where Stephen had stayed became a minor shrine, with people booking it months in advance, hoping for even a fraction of the inspiration it gave to him. This rebirth wasn't confined to just increased tourism and a boost in popularity. It extended to the very essence of the place. People came not just seeking thrills, but something deeper, a connection to the unknown, a brush with the otherworldly, a sense of wonder and awe that is all too rare in our jaded world. Even as new staff joined and renovations modernized parts of the hotel, the essence of mystery and inspiration remained. Whether it was the laughter of phantom children down the corridors or the soft piano music emanating from empty rooms, the Stanley continued to be a home for stories waiting to be told. Stephen King had not only chronicled the legend of the Stanley Hotel, but he had also contributed to it, adding another layer to its complex, ever-evolving narrative. And so, the hotel and the author shared a new life, forever linked in the annals of American folklore and literature. As the years turned into decades, the legacy of both Stephen King and the Stanley Hotel grew stronger. New generations discovered the magic and mystery of the story, finding their fears and fascinations reflected in its pages. The Stanley, ever the enigmatic muse, continued to draw visitors from around the world, its halls brimming with whispered secrets and untold stories. Stephen King received numerous awards and honors, not least for the book inspired by Stanley. But the greatest reward, he often said in interviews, was knowing that he had tapped into something universal, something timeless. He had connected people to a larger sense of wonder and fear, and in doing so, had elevated a local legend into a global tale. The story became more than just ink on paper. It became a cultural touchstone, a shared experience that transcended language and geography. It had shown people the beauty in the unknown, the thrill in the mysterious, and the extraordinary that could be found within the ordinary. In their way, both Stephen King and the Stanley Hotel had achieved immortality, their stories destined to live on, captivating the imagination of those who dared to step into their world. They became symbols of the incredible power of storytelling, reminders that sometimes the most extraordinary adventures can begin in the most unexpected places. And so, the circle was complete. From inspiration to publication, from obscurity to legend, the journey that had begun in a quiet, haunted hotel room had reached its resolution, but the echoes of the tale would resound forever, a testament to the enduring allure of the unknown.